Take two. I was explaining. Okay, so we're getting ready to apply my rainbow hair color retouch all over. I always start with the bottom and work my way up. People ask, how do you make your hair color not blend together? How do you keep it from getting muddy? And that's the whole, I work my way from the bottom up. And the reason that's important is because Pravana hair colors, if you lay them on top of each other rather than like pinching or mashing them together, the colors don't bleed. So they only bleed when you want them to and you're blending them intentionally. So if you notice, I have all of these different sections on both sides, and also in the back you can see these different sections here. These two big guys, I start on one side and I'll take little tiny sections all the way up, going one section at a time. Oh, focus, camera. Anyway, okay, so I'll go one section at a time back here, and then I'll drop, this one will be dropped and colored, and I'll do the same thing over here. And then I'll do these middle sections and the top sections, and the back half will be completed. And then I work my way to the front, where I will already have done this one, because when I start with this big chunk back here, these two are the same color, so I go ahead and do those together, and these two and these two. And it's not until I get to the top that I have colors that are different than what's behind them. Yeah, so that's what we're doing, and we are starting with blue. In the Pravana color line, there are a couple different blues. The first one that I start with is this guy. Well, you can't see it. This guy right here. Come on, camera, do your job. Maybe not. Anyway, it's blue. This whole section back here will be blue, along with this little doodad in the front on this side. The back is always the hardest because I'm not sitting in front of myself, so I can't see myself like I would if I was in a salon working on a client. I usually stack a couple mirrors around the room and basically then just juggle. Surprisingly, using the camera and the computer screen is a little bit easier than I expected it would be, so long as I can refrain from smacking my mic, which I was doing the whole time I was lightening my hair. When you're using Pravana Vivids, they're a demi-permanent hair color. There is no developer. The color comes straight out of the container, which is super awesome because there's no damage and it's basically conditioner. So even if you don't have lightened hair and you use the color, depending on your natural color, it may or may not show up, but it still will serve as an amazing conditioning treatment, leaving your ends really nicely sealed, which is surprising because most hair color leaves your ends feeling kind of chewed. Pravana, the reason this turns out so well on my hair is because I pre-lighten it, and the sections that already have rainbow on them were pre-lightened when they were closer to my scalp. Because pre-lightened hair is super duper thirsty, it sucks up this hair color really hard, and that's really awesome. But when you're applying, if you apply unevenly, like where you push your brush will have more force than where you're just brushing, so you try to keep it kind of even while you're applying. Otherwise, you'll find after you blow dry that you have marks, and you'll be able to see where you put more pressure or more product. If the product dries, the hair no longer absorbs what the color that's in there, so then all of a sudden you end up with like drier patches, and patches that are a little bit less vibrant than others. This is a very messy project. I have ruined so many floor rugs and t-shirts, and I used to have like, this is my hair color t-shirt, but that does not always work out. I do appreciate having a singular t-shirt that I use for hair color though. It's kind of fun. It's like accidental art. Crap. I usually end up with this stuff all over my face and my shoulders and my arms. Okay, let's see. Oh, you guys can't even see what I'm doing back there because I forgot to switch to the other cam. Let's see. Boom. Whatever I can do to keep my fingers from going to the wrong place, which is totally fine if some of the colors get touched together, because even though it looks super awesome, like I don't make any mistakes, I seriously make at least a few every time I do this. Every time I blow dry, I find a spot that drives me crazy for the first 2 days, and then I don't care anymore. If I was a hairstylist, if I was still working in a hair salon doing somebody else's hair though, I would not leave spots like I have in my own hair because it would eat me forever. Let's see, let's go back here again. The blue color actually surprises me every time too. Like, I think the lime green is my favorite, and the lime green is kind of like a Mountain Dew green, but it's super cool because it's black light sensitive. So like, even the hair that I currently have left over from previous hair coloring adventures, I can still, it'll still light up. See the green up there with my little black light? Well, it's probably not a great representation because I also have metal things in there and they glow, but the green definitely glows more than the other colors, and it glows forever. Even when it doesn't look green anymore, there's green, it's magic. And with this stuff, you really want your hair to be fully saturated, all the way wet. I will not show you my neck when I'm done. Crap, this is hard. Another cool thing about this being developer free, you can leave it in your hair for pretty much as long as you want. When, well, not when I first started, but years ago, I've been doing this for about 10 years. When I first started doing this, my friends and I would do each other's hair and then hang out, and we would kind of just forget that the color was there. And sometimes we'd wake up with a huge mess and a whole lot of hair color dried in lots of places. And other friends with like dreadlocks, I've seen them intentionally leave it on for a very long time just to make sure they get the full potential color deposit. When washing your hair, cooler water kind of helps, not as much as you would think, not as much as people seem to say. Really, the best thing I have found for hair color longevity is not having your hair wet frequently. The longer your hair is wet, the more it fades. Salt water helps it fade quickly as well. And believe it or not, sunlight really makes hair fade quickly. That's not supposed to happen. Come off. Come off. You know what? Let's grab other gloves. So the blue is done. I did not think about this all the way through. So the next color we're going to be using is Blue Topaz. It is almost identical to the blue. It's a little bit more of a cerulean color, at least in packaging. I find that when they start to fade a little bit, the blue has the most dependable cerulean. It begins as like a really dark denim wash and ends up a little bit lighter. The Blue Topaz though starts off more cerulean and less denim, and I like the way they blend together, and then I use the Blue Topaz to blend into the green. That's the Blue Topaz. So let's see. The way this works, I find the next section back here, which is this little guy, and I go ahead and take it down. You can see I got a little bit of that blue on it, but that'll be okay. You won't be able to tell once we apply the color. And then I'm also gonna take down the blue that goes with it, this guy up here, because it's also part of that next section. Wow, having them twisted up like that made them kind of crazy. Anyway, Blue Topaz. before I get that super dirty, let's just go ahead and make sure this little guy's out of the way. See how like right in this area it's kind of got that natural hang, which is totally fine, but we need to make sure that it is not hanging when we go to apply that color. It's really hard to do once your gloves get dirty. There is a husky hair on my color brush, because of course there is. And if you notice, I'll get you a little closer here. If you notice right up in here where the color is looking a little bit green on the individual strands rather than blue, that's because that hair is very, very thirsty and it's sucking up the color faster than the other section did, which is sometimes expected depending on how much lightener you used to achieve the color from before, or what developer you used this time in comparison to last time. But if you notice that some of those like blonde pieces are really poking through, you probably want to reapply your color in that area. Once I get it at the root, I go back and do the ends. You can definitely feel the color on the hair through the glove. It feels like super, super slick in the areas that have enough, and when it's ready for a little bit more, it feels kind of thirsty. Let me switch you back to the back. it's a little less drastic on this side because the blue and the green are pretty dark colors. On the other side, when it goes from purple to wild orchid, you really have to watch where your colors get together, like where the blue half mixes onto the other half, especially because the blue is dark and the wild orchid is bright. And you definitely don't want blue dots on the wild orchid side if you can help it. It's fine if the blue and the purple touch, but the blue and the wild orchid definitely leave spots. View, and it has been quite some time. Almost 30 minutes. So I think I'm just gonna assume you guys get the gist of what I'm doing here. I'm gonna sign off and get this finished. Stop worrying about trying to be so messy, and I will come back after I shampoo everything out and blow dry it and show you a reveal. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow to do that, so good mascara. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great night. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. I'd be happy to answer.